All right, everyone, we have to quickly address drunken Shia Labeouf because he was really out of it. Apparently, there are several clips in the description, uh, and I don't know exactly what he was thinking. These are both on YouTube. I'm not going to use any articles. These are like the primary footage. He got arrested for public intoxication. And instead of deal with it like a normal person, like, okay, yeah, I was drunk in public. I went to the drunk pan. I got arraigned the next day. They fined me $50 or something. They fined me 200. They made me do like 2 hours of community service. Especially if you're talking about someone with millions of dollars who can hire the high-powered lawyers. Not going to be in very long for fucking public intoxication. He hasn't done anything else wrong. Instead of doing that like a sane person, like dealing with the fucking situation, what does Shia decide to do? Because he's a self-righteous prick, he decides he's going to run these officers down, threaten to shoot one of them, and then of course, he's getting hauled in for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest then at that point too. I'd say he's got a real problem with the bottle if he was drunk enough to think that that was a good idea. Apparently, according to him, he's in the hotel lobby getting accosted by police and somehow also asks one of them for a cigarette because he's apparently he's three sheets to the wind, thinks that he's actually going to get one and then just randomly gets arrested. I'm not sure that I believe Shia's apparent explanation of the events as they transpired. According to the officers, I guess he was like walking around drunk already. That's sort of why they followed him in there and determined, yeah, he's like severely drunk. He was publicly intoxicated. We're going to haul him in, sober him up. And that's basically what they're going to do. Unless you're being a total scumfuck like this, if you get picked up for public intoxication, the best thing you can do is sleep it off. Yeah, you're going to be in one of those happy little cells. The next day, you're probably fine. You're not going to prison for 2-3 years, but now he might. Because he threatened to kill an officer of the law. He threatened to shoot him. In his own words, I believe it was, oh, you got your piece and you won't do shit. I'll get my piece and blow your head off. Wow, that's the Shia we're all used to, just angry at the entire world for being irrelevant. Now, here's the thing. He also went off, and this is for his fans, this is going to be worse. Like threatening to kill a police officer, social justice warriors will hail you as a hero for that. Here's where he went wrong. He then proceeded to go on an expletive-driven rant which had racial overtones. That's not going to sit as well with them. And basically said, oh, you got a president who doesn't care about you and you're arresting a white man for asking a black officer for a cigarette. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Nobody's going to arrest you for asking, unless it was specifically because you were totally drunk off your ass and how you actually said it was, hey, officer, can I have a cigarette or something, man? Unless you asked it like that, they're not going to care. He's just going to say, no, you can't. Leave me alone. I'm on duty. By the way, when somebody who's a social justice warrior gets preachy, this is one of their big problems. They always talk down. It's like the New York Times sandwich column today that went viral. We're talking about, oh, my lower class friend didn't understand all these terms and we ended up going to a cheap Mexican dive or something because I'm so erudite and these lower classers just can't understand life the way it is. They don't even have a high school diploma. This is the way that you think. It's like all of these weirdo social justice warrior nerds and wonks and all your politicians are so out of touch that when Trump deliberately dumbs himself down, nobody has a problem with it because they're comparing them to you jackasses. That's why nobody cares. When Trump launches off into a Twitter rant, people cheer at this point because at least it's better than the crap that you're spewing. Shia might as well have just been honest and said what he really felt about the black officer involved, which was what he really wanted to say was, hey, you're an Oreo because I'm a social justice warrior. I'm an entitled rich kid dude who thinks he's standing for your rights by being a total public embarrassment and a drunk. That's what he really should have said. It would have been honest. That's how people like that really think. But apparently he wasn't quite that liquored up. Like, the more you drink, sometimes the more honest you get. So he had enough in him to really lash out and say, oh, fucking Trump is somehow responsible for this. police state, oh, I just asked him for a cigarette, and then threatening to kill him. But he still wasn't quite, he needed like half a shot more to get to the point where he called his friendly host there an Oreo. By the way, kudos to the officers for dealing with this shit. This is about the most restrained, chill pair of police that you will ever see on video. Usually when you see police on video, when something is monumental enough to get posted to YouTube, usually it's, oh, an officer broke this dude's bones in 20 places with his baton. This officer tasered a pregnant woman right in the belly. This officer threw a kid over his shoulder and basically just beat him to death or something. That's usually what you get. Instead, here you've got two officers. I don't even think they can believe what they're seeing. They probably realize, they're like, oh, this Shia Labeouf, he's like a semi-well-known actor, semi-well-known activist. He's a jackass and he's obviously drunk, but semi-well-known. They're probably like, oh, this would be funny to tell the kids. Oh, now he's threatening to shoot us. Okay, different story. And yet they still manage to be calm in their demeanor. And these are just beat cops. These are lower middle class individuals. They're not getting rich doing what they're doing. To save the reading of the riot act to the man for the police commissioner, or for one of those bureaucratic heads that people like Shia never confront. They never go to the EPA and say, oh, you're wasting our money and regulating us out of jobs and fucking the poor in the process and all of these terrible things you do. They'll never confront them. They're not going to walk up to the FBI and start shouting slogans. No, they choose to deal with a handful of beat cops. People who are average Joes. When they take the uniform off, they're not rich. They're not driving a Maserati around or anything like that. That's why the left has some severe public relations problems. It's shit like this. But they're never going to wise up. It's going to take them years to drop their stupid act. And it just shows that Shia is obsessed with race. He rants about it constantly. Now, when he's sober, he's like, oh, they're keeping blacks down. They hate Hispanic stuff. When he gets drunk Shia says instead, oh, you despicable black person for arresting me. I'm a white advocate. Look at how wonderful and moral I am. You owe me something. So I should be able to break the law with impunity unless it's like a really significant law. Who cares that I'm sitting there guzzling my wine on the street corner or whatever he was doing? That's how Shia comes off to people. It's just, why don't you find someone who's actually being abusive? If this is your idea of abusive police officers, you got some warped opinions. Because a lot of police officers wouldn't have been so nice to you. They wouldn't have been sitting there chuckling. They would have been calling you all sorts of names under the sun, and you would have deserved it. They're on camera. This is all body cam footage. They didn't bother to turn it off. They're probably like, no, this is solid comedy gold. It's going right on YouTube. This is going to be great. The public will get to see this jackass for who he really is, which is a jackass. That's how he's acting. It's 3 sheets to win. Maybe he was on something other than alcohol at the time, too. He's threatening to kill a police officer. Not a great idea. You're just getting picked up for public intoxication at that point. It's like a sub-misdemeanor, barely crime. That happens all the time. They have to pick up 3 or 4 winos and bums every single night. They don't fucking care that you're publicly intoxicated, but because of their PR and because the government does care, they have to put you in the drunk tank and fine you $50. Oh, horrible. It's a terrible coup. It's police brutality. They charged me $50. They kept me in the drunk tank until I was sober and then offered me coffee and a donut in the morning because they knew I was well known, because they knew I was hungover. It's so abusive. No, instead he proceeds to make a total jackass out of himself. Wonderful. It's just a great career move. I'm sure he'll get plenty of acting jobs. No, you see, the problem is all of those leftists that would otherwise defend him and say, oh, come on, he was just drunk in public. Who cares? People are drunk all the time and stumbling around. Yeah, it's kind of true. They're not going to defend him because of the racial language used. So maybe he should exercise better decision-making skills in the future. You know, this is the dude who kept moving his flag around. It kept getting found and defaced and stolen. Finally, he rage quits and goes off into the woods for a month and basically hides from society. He says, fuck you, I'm living in a cabin now. Like, he probably being drunk the whole time, I guess. At some point, he was getting addicted to something. I'm not so sure it's just alcohol, by the way. I think there might be some other goodies involved on Shia's part. But yeah, I mean, come on. Look at the video footage. It's still hilarious. It's definitely funny. But No, is he really going to be relevant after this, or are a lot of his fans going to say, "What the hell were you thinking? You're running down a black police officer for simply happening to be a police officer." Now I know when someone who's a minority becomes a boy in blue, they'll still blame them for like all sorts of problems, but you got to realize Shia is white. So it's a little bit different from if BLM is complaining. In the hierarchy of the social justice warriors, Shia is only one step above any other white straight male because he happens to be a celebrity, which still puts him down fairly low on the social justice totem pole, all things considered. Except when he's actively trolling people. Looks like now he's the butt of the joke, though, which is pretty funny. It's wonderful to see him get his just desserts. Hopefully they charge him with something significant. Scare him straight. Charge him with threatening to kill this officer. Actually bring up charges on that. A credible threat, terroristic threat. Say, oh, you're looking at 2 or 3 years in prison for that. You know, dropping the soap. We're going to put you in a cell with a neo-Nazi, by the way, too. That 400-pound block of muscle with the swastika tattoos is say hi to your new cellmate. And then he's going to beg and plead and crack, and he's going to get off the sauce a lot quicker. And then you say, oh, okay. He's like apologetic. We'll give him like a week of community service or something. Okay, 60 hours of community service, and you pay $10,000 fine and do a public apology, and we're good. And it'll probably scare him straight. That's what they need to do with miscreants like this. He's a couple years older than me. He should know better. You should know better than to be so sauced that you threaten to kill a police officer. It's common sense, dude. I'm sorry, but there's nobody to defend you on this one. And your $1 million lawyers, that's what he alluded to. He's like, oh, I can hire $1 million lawyers you don't even know about. Oh, you're gonna be fucked. Who cares? The prosecutor, the state has a lot more money than you, Shia. There are very, very few people in the U.S. who have enough money to successfully fight off a state prosecutor if they really, really want to make an example of them. Your best bet is to be very, very apologetic. Call those officers on you and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was so drunk. I just didn't know what I was doing and I was a total jackass. You should come out publicly and apologize and not just be a total jerk off for the rest of your life, because that's really the way that Shia, honestly, sadly, is heading for someone who's, at least a B-list actor. That's about all. Peace out.